Thank you. It's probably just been covered in part, but in your judgment, the unmet need from Portsmouth and Gosport boroughs, are they likely to be met?
In a word, no.
Right. So in offering up the strategic growth areas, what is the risk, again, in your judgment, of that being taken up eventually as an allocation in the strategic plan?
I think there's certainly a risk of it happening. It depends on what quantum we're talking about. The best news of all would be that both local planning authorities, Portsmouth and Gosport, accommodate all of their housing need. You've asked me whether I think they will. I don't, but it's a matter of what is the quantity that's left and what have we got in our local plan in terms of allocations as to what would actually be required. And that would be then tested out at the public inquiry. But remember that if a council decides it can't meet its housing need, that too will be tested at a public inquiry. And there will be developers there saying, well, maybe an inquiry in Portsmouth, well, we've offered that. The inspector could say, well, okay, the council doesn't want it, but I'm going to say it's going to happen. So then what looked like unmet need could get soaked up through the public inquiry process. So it's difficult to speculate, but you just asked me to take a stab in the dark, and that is what I said.
FBC are not going to just lie back and allow Gosport and Portsmouth just to take the foot off the gas pedal?
No, we would make comment on their local plans in the same way that they are already making comment on our local plan. We're just a bit further ahead than they are in terms of the plan-making process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name's Amelia, I live down the road. I work for the NHS and my...
Pressing the microphone a bit.
Sorry. I work for the NHS and one of my main concerns is around infrastructure. So obviously we've discussed water, we've discussed sewage, but there's so much more than that. And in Stubbington, we've got the one doctor's surgery and they're all fabulous, but they're very much overrun. And there's constant complaints about the fact that people can't access their GPs quickly enough because there's just such a large volume. Now, I work at the QA and that is in the exact same position. It's very much overrun. We serve a phenomenally large population for the size of the hospital, and if the strategic gap between Stubbington and Fareham were to be built on, that's on the QA side of things, not on the Southampton General side of things. So the catchment, there will be more homes in an area that doesn't have the infrastructure to support the homes it's already got. Now, I've read in all of the documentation on the website that the council is working in partnership with QA, but I'm in a fairly senior role there and I'm privy to most of that support, or most of the working in partnership. And it's not support in actual tangible help, it's more of forewarning. And there doesn't, everyone knows we're short of doctors, we're short of nurses, we're short of healthcare professionals, we're short of money. None of those things are able to be provided by the council for the QA, and equally for Southampton, although slightly less so because they're not quite in so much trouble. But how can the council, and how will the council, if this were to go ahead and houses were to be built in the strategic gap, how would the council be supporting our NHS infrastructure, specifically at QA and at our doctor's surgery?
Thank you. It's a really good question. The NHS is funded by general taxation. It's not funded by councils. It's not funded generally by planning agreements and money coming out of the governments. In terms of the planning application, I just advised you had been withdrawn. That actually included a GP surgery as part of the application. In Wellbourne, for example, there is a building going to be put there, the land plus the building. It's a £4 million project. The developer is signed up for that. That is going to happen. But in terms of funding hospitals and funding GPs directly, councils don't generally do that. That's done by the NHS. The NHS, their job, and through the clinical commissioning group, Fareham and Gosport, which I'm sure you're familiar with, their role is to commission. GPs are private businesses. They are contracted to the NHS to provide services. Hospitals are contracted to deliver for the CCGs as well. So the relationship between the council and the local NHS partners is that we consult them, and yes, you mentioned the word forewarning. They know what developments are likely to happen, so they can plan for them, and they can make sure that their budgets, it's not going to be instant, but of course houses don't get built instantly either. For example, they've seen Wellborn coming for the last 14 years, so they knew it was going to happen. They're able to make provision for that. In the same way as the clinical commissioning group is a part of that dialogue as well, a statutory consultee, and they know what is coming and when it's coming, and taxation will fund it. Now, of course, GPs who are running those private businesses, they're contracted to see a certain number of patients. They're not contracted to build new surgeries unless they choose to, or they can just operate out of what they operate, giving, as you say, excellent medical care, but it can still be, you know, like sardines in some of those buildings, but it is down to the owners, to the GPs, to expand their building or find another site or build another surgery. How they deliver is down to them. We say to them, well, this is what is coming, this is what you've got to make provision for. And if you want to come back, by all means.
Thank you. I fully appreciate how the NHS is funded. My question is more about the other support. So, obviously the NHS is funded through NHS England, fine, but you said that the development that was rejected included a GP surgery, but we haven't got the GPs to staff that. Obviously that's a separate part of, you know, the government and the council, but education is 100% part of, you know, the council's responsibility, isn't it?
It's not. So the direct funding goes to the schools from the council, but it's passported straight through. We don't run in schools anymore.
Okay, so what you're saying is if we had these potentially 3,100 new homes put in, taking in, as the worst case scenario, if Portsmouth and Gosport can't take anything in, that's going to be an extra 3,100 people that the government, the council essentially can't support the infrastructure for. All you can do is forewarn.
In terms of health, you're right. In terms of roads and schools and things like that, then those issues are dealt with by legal agreements through planning, called Section 106 agreements. And they generate whatever the county council says as the highway authority, this is what we want for these junctions or roads or whatever it is, that will be paid. What they say is needed for education. If they say, well, this development is going to need X number of extra classrooms, or this development is going to need a new school, then that's effectively a tax on that development as well. And there'll be a Section 106 agreement which will see that new school delivered, or those new classrooms added to an existing school. So education, we can do. Roads, we can do.
So
the
why
NHS,
not health as well?
Pardon?
So why not health as well?
Because that's not part of the thing that you enter into legal agreements with developers for, unless it's something exceptional, like Wellborn, which will get this building, which the NHS has still not said that it's going to start.
Well, that's
so we're going to be in a situation where we are doing what we can do to say there will be a building for health-related use, but the NHS has to put the staff in, and that's their challenge. We can't employ or commission doctors, we can't employ nurses, but we can make jolly sure that these developments have the potential to take the infrastructure that they need, be it schools, in Wellborn's case, a building for health, and roads. And the infrastructure bill for Wellborn is £308 million to put in the roads and the schools and the motorway junction and all the rest of it. So it's, yeah, and that's being paid mainly by the developers, quite right.
Okay,